Are you ready? Because I'm not. Joke. Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel. This is Isa. In this video, I'll be talking about my online NMAT experience as well as tips and tricks on how you can reach your goal score. Let's go! So just a disclaimer, I am not an expert or anything. These are just tips on what personally helped me, and hopefully you'll find this video useful into finding out what's best for you and reach your goal score. So for the new ones here, hi, I'm Sarrosa and I am a student from the University of Santo Tomas taking up the program BS Pharmacy. So I'll just give a brief background on the NMAT. The NMAT, or National Medical Admission Test, is a nationwide standardized test for aspiring medical students. So this is done twice a year, normally on March and October. This is used to test the preparedness of students in handling the academic demands for med school. First, I'll talk about my NMAT experience. This is a long one. I knew I wanted to take the NMAT March 2020. I wasn't planning on taking review classes at first, but then since my friends were thinking about taking review classes, I decided to take review classes as well because, yeah. So as I'm editing, I realized I didn't talk about whether or not you should take review classes, but then my answer to that would be it's really up to you, because for me, I took review classes because it would kind of force me to study on Sundays, which is normally the free day, and I think that kind of helped me with getting myself to study. But if you know yourself that you can discipline yourself to study, then you don't need the review classes. You can find so many materials online to study. Back when NMAT was supposed to be on March 1, I did not feel prepared at all. I really was not ready. It got postponed to April 26. Then COVID happened, the lockdown happened. They emailed us saying that we had the option to take it on August or October or to refund. And at this point, I was like thinking, I don't want to take it online. I was thinking of all the reasons why not to take it on August. My parents were telling me that you don't know what's gonna happen. October might still be online. And yes, October is still online. I actually legit started studying a month before the NMAT, which was July. That is when I made a schedule. I really planned on studying at this time. So now that's done, I'll be talking about the NMAT itself. I decided not to go so much into the specifics of everything about NMAT because then this video will take forever. I'll be linking down a link in the description. So this is from Filipiknow. They talk about everything about NMAT and it's super useful. So I suggest that after watching this video, if you haven't yet, click the link, read the website. So the NMAT is divided into two parts. The parts are divided into 4 subsets each. For part 1, there's verbal, inductive reasoning, quantitative, and perceptual acuity. And then for part 2, there is biology, physics, social science, and then chemistry. Now, the difference between the schedule for on-site NMAT and online NMAT is that the on-site NMAT was actually about 5.5 hours. For the online NMAT, it was only 4 hours total. The on-site NMAT, it's composed of 40 items for each subtest, but for the online NMAT, it's only 30 items. And then for part 2, originally it's supposed to be 50 items for each subtest, but for online, it's 30 items as well. So in the online NMAT, that is a total of 240 questions for the entire test. They gave us 2.5 hours to answer 120 questions for part 1 and 1.5 hours to answer 120 questions of part 2. So verbal is mostly going to be analogies and reading comprehension. So my tip for reading comprehension is that it's important to read the question before reading the selection so you know what to watch out for once you're reading the selection. But keep in mind that your next question will also probably be about the same selection. So that's actually a disadvantage of taking NMAT online because the questions come out one by one. You won't be able to see all the questions in one whole page. So the next part for part 1 is inductive reasoning. So it's mostly figure series, figure grouping, and number and letter series. So the tip here always, since it's online, on your whiteboard, write down the alphabet and write down numbers right next to the alphabet. So I did this on the actual day, but I did it once the test already started because the whiteboard is supposed to be clean right before the test. For inductive reasoning, there are lots of practice questions online, so you can search for them and you'll be able to familiarize yourself with patterns and hopefully answer it much faster when you actually take the NMAT itself. So for quantitative, this is about fundamental operations, problem solving, and data interpretation. So my tip here is to practice the math questions. I feel like in this video, I'll be saying the word practice a lot, but it's really so important. I cannot stress how important it is because I feel like the key to NMAT is practice, practice, practice. And it's also important to know the basic rules in math, such as the exponents and stuff like that, because they always come out in the test. Practice the math equations, like the ones coming from the practice test, and understand the concept on how to solve it. Don't just memorize the answer. You should also know how to solve the actual problem. The next part is perceptual acuity, which is composed of hidden figures, mirror images, and identical information. My tip here is, since you're going to be looking at the screen and the choices are there, but you can't write on it or anything, so it's gonna be hard to cancel out. So what I did for this part is I would mentally say the letter choices to myself. So I would go A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E. And then once I know that a certain letter is not part of the choices, so for example, I cancelled out B, I would just say A, C, D, E, A, C, D, E, A, C, D, E. And then I would cancel out C, A, D, E, A, D, E. And then I'd cancel out D, A, E, A, E. Until I cancel out E, for example, and then A is the last answer. Basically, this is so that you can keep track of what's wrong, because at least mentally, you told yourself already that A, E, A is... This was super helpful for me in taking this part as quick as possible, because at least I wouldn't lose track of the choices that I already eliminated. You're not allowed to talk during the NMAT or make noise. The proctor might scold you for doing so and might be a distraction. That happened to some people, so just mentally say it to yourself and eliminate the choices. So for part 2, the biology, physics, social science, and chemistry part of the test, this is mostly on practice tests, which I will keep mentioning, but my tip for physics is, if you come across a question that you don't know how to solve at all, you're like, what is this question? What are these numbers and values? My tip here is to just solve using the values until you come up with an answer that's in the choices. I'm not telling you to do that for every question. I'm just saying that if all else fails, that's something you can try, because it has worked for me at some times. The ultimate tip is practice, practice, practice the practice tests. Like, I swear, answering the practice tests are much better if you don't have enough time. At least with the practice tests, you'll be gaining more knowledge on a various amount of topics rather than just one topic. So for the NMAT, they're going to be getting questions from different topics. So on what practice tests to use, I mainly focused on the practice tests that NMAT gave. I also bought the... Hold on, let me get them. So I also bought these books from National Bookstore. You can buy them on Shopee as well, and some people also sell secondhand online. What I like about it is that after you answer the questions, their answer key consists of the solutions for each question. So when you're taking practice tests, it's important to time yourself while you're taking it as if you're taking the actual NMAT. Time management is really one of the big factors to NMAT. And if you practice with the pressure of having a time limit, you won't be as shocked when you take the NMAT itself. Another tip for those who will be taking the online NMAT is to practice using a laptop that you will be using for the NMAT day itself. Getting used to taking a test on a screen, because it's not the same as pen and paper. Since NMAT did not allow scratch papers, I knew I did not want to use the scratch pad on the screen because it's just so hassle to try and solve using your mouse. So I decided that I would go with the whiteboard option. I would practice solving on the whiteboard. So using my whiteboard helped me get used to the process of having to write on a whiteboard, having to erase the solutions every time, because that is what you're going to have to do during the NMAT itself, and you're going to need to erase your solutions for every item. So Practice using your whiteboard every time you can so that you get used to it. Another tip, and this is something that I saw friends and people online do, so I followed. I would write down formulas on my mirror. It's over there. I'll insert a picture here on how it looked like. So it was full of equations and concepts. It is an area of my room that I'd have to pass through every day. So once in a while, I'd look at it and then hope that it instills in my mind. What you can do is you can write your important formulas or equations to remember on a manila paper and then just stick that manila paper on your wall or wherever you want to put it, on your bed, I don't know, but no, don't put it on your bed. Rest, take your breaks. Another tip I can give is to make use of the internet. We're lucky because we can really maximize our resources online. What I did was I joined Facebook groups that contained people who were going to take the NMAT and who have already also taken the NMAT. So I think I joined 2 groups. I'll link them down in the description below. And it was so useful to me and my friends because we got lots of updates from those groups. You're with people who are also going to be taking it with you, so the support system is also super good, which is why I'm super grateful to the moderators of the group. Thank you, shout out. I'm losing my voice halfway in making this video. If my voice sounds different, So now, online tips. So since CEM required us to have a Windows laptop, and I don't have a Windows laptop, I had to borrow from a friend a month before the test so that I could familiarize myself with the actual laptop and know how to use it. So CEM emailed us the system that we needed to be able to run the NMAT test itself. Don't just run the system one time, run it multiple times so that you're sure that the system will really work on the day itself. So the next thing is to tell the people in your house when and where you'll be taking the NMAT. I told my family members ahead of time. With that, they knew when to avoid using the internet as much as possible so that my test will go smoothly. So I also left a small sign on my door. I'll insert a picture. A little sign goes a long way. I'll also insert how my workspace looked like. So I covered my mirrors with paper because it said in the NMAT guidelines that mirrors of any sort were not allowed. They didn't check actually. I didn't have to do like a room tour like what other people had to do. I did it just in case because I didn't want to have any problems. So this is just an extra thing. I don't think everyone's like this, but if you're like me, if you sleep late, I sleep sometimes at like 3, 4, 5. If you're like that, I made sure that I fixed my body clock on the week of the NMAT. You can do it way ahead of time, but I knew realistically that I wouldn't be able to fix it consistently. It's so important that you get lots of rest the night before. So it's finally your NMAT day. Reward yourself, treat yourself, have your favorite breakfast if that will make you happier. On the actual NMAT, I was able to prepare myself. I was sitting on my desk and, you know, praying and just mentally preparing myself. I think that that's so important to just focus on your NMAT. Thanks to the Facebook groups, I kind of knew what to expect. A lot of people said that they ran out of time for part 1. So I made sure that in part 1 that I was really taking care of how much time I spent in a certain number. A minute or less if possible for each number. And as much as possible, do not skip. Actually, just don't skip any items in the test. So if you don't know the answer, just make an intelligent guess for now and then take note of that number and come back to it later. You actually have to go to the number itself, press until you get to the number itself. If you skip and you run out of time, there are higher chances of you not being able to answer that item. If there were questions that I wasn't sure of, that was when I would take note of that to come back to. But if I knew I didn't know the question at all, I just left an intelligent guess and I didn't go back to it because I didn't want to spend my time on a question that I wouldn't have known at all. That is why, again, time management is so important. Another thing is the proctor will chat in the chat box, which will appear at the bottom right of the screen if he or she has reminders to give you. And I also asked the proctor if I could go to the restroom so that they would know I would be leaving for a few minutes. And be sure to do that because apparently some people got scolded for not asking permission before leaving. Avoid like looking around or like thinking like this, as much as possible, look at your screen or on your whiteboard, because you don't want the proctor to be scolding you in the chat box, because that could actually cause distractions. And there, after the test, that was it. That was done. It was finally over. So I'll be inserting my results here. I'm really surprised because physics is my weakness. So I think out of all the subjects, I spent most of my time practicing questions, solving, learning the concepts. I think that my physics and quantitative portion really brought up my percentile. So if those are your weaknesses, try to work on that. And hopefully, you'll reach your goal percentile. Another tip is to have a support system. I was lucky that my friends and I were taking it at the same time. We were really there for each other. We kept each other motivated. We would video call every afternoon to take practice tests together. And what helped here is that after taking the practice tests, we would check our answers and go through each number. So if someone knew the answer to another number and the others didn't, that person would be able to explain. So I want to insert, this is called the learning pyramid. If you search, this is how much information you retain when you're studying. So studying with friends was super helpful because we were able to teach each other and discuss the questions, and as you can see, it's one of the best ways to study and learn, which is why I also asked them to film short video on their own personal tips, because it's better that it's not just from me but also from them. So there's going to be Missy, Mikko, and Angela. So here are their tips.
Hi, I'm Missy. I'm blockmates with Isa in UST, and I got a 94 in NMAT. So I guess my first tip would be to answer as many practice tests as you can. You can find a bunch of free ones online, and I also bought the MSA books from Shopee, but we did go to a review center. For me, this was super helpful because this was at a time where our schedule was from Monday to Saturday. So no matter how busy you were, I would know that on Sunday would be a devoted day for NMAT. I'd usually focus on one subject a day, and at first when I was taking it, I wouldn't time myself. I would just really try to understand the logic behind each question. I would write down the most important or recurring information, which I later compiled into a 1 to 2 page reviewer. My next tip would be to study with friends. This process alone super motivated me. If there was a question I didn't understand, someone else in the group could explain it to me, or if we all didn't get it, we would figure it out together. My last tip for studying for NMAT would be not to review the day before. I actually broke this rule and I decided to take a new practice test the day before. It honestly just took away the last shred of confidence I had in myself. I scored low on the test, so it made me feel like I absorbed nothing in these few months. Don't do that. I don't recommend it. Just chill the day before. And then on test day itself, sleep early the night before, even if you have to force yourself. That's what I did. Have a heavy breakfast because I was super hungry after the test. Try to click the link as early as you can because you'll probably be in queue for a long time. I think I opened the link at exactly 12 and I had to wait in queue for about 20 minutes to be connected to a proctor, but I've heard other people take even longer. Another thing, don't read the questions out loud. My proctor gave me a bunch of warnings for doing this because I would forget. If you don't know the answer to the question, just guess. Don't waste your time on it. Usually your first instinct is right. Listening to test anxiety meditations, you can just find them on YouTube, actually really helped me and calm me down. And talking to my friends as well, it's just a reminder that you got this. You gotta declare it to the universe. At the end of the day, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. It's 100% about the effort you put in. And if you've known you've worked hard, then you honestly have nothing to worry about. So good luck to all the NMAT takers. You got this. Remember that.
Hey guys, I'm Mikko Supe. I am a blockmate of Isa, and here are just some quick tips that really helped me get my 94 in NMAT. One other major benefit of studying with friends is when you're going over a topic and you're reviewing, and you don't understand what's written down on the textbook or what's written down on the reviewer, you can have your friend who understands it better than you explain it to you in so much simpler words and in a language that you actually understand. so everything's so much quicker and so much easier to learn. So I actually believe that in NMAT, it's mostly about your test-taking skills. After a practice test, we were going over mistakes. My friends really helped me out with this because like I would understand the logic that went through their decision-making. Even if they didn't know the answer to it, they would still get the right answer because they would do something like process of elimination. They would just be like, okay, you know what, this one makes the most sense. And hearing like all their different logics and like their different methods of getting the right answer really helped me out a lot. It helped me integrate that into my own process of making decisions when answering a question. I actually think the best thing about studying with friends is actually the support system that you build with them. Like, these are people who are struggling with you. They know what you're going through. They understand the stress more than anyone else can. It's just a nice thing to have, and it encourages you to keep doing better. It encourages you to keep going and just, you know, finish the NMAT. So another tip I should give you guys is actually to take breaks. I know NMAT is stressful. I know how bad it can get. It's important that you take a step back sometimes and just breathe a little bit, enjoy your life. Don't study 24/7 just because it's NMAT. We know it's an important exam, but you should learn how to breathe and like take care of yourself as well. So for when you're actually taking the test, just some quick few tips to remember. Be time conscious. When I was taking the NMAT, I didn't look at the timer so often, and when I got the 1-minute warning, I had 10 more questions to fill out and I just didn't have enough time, and I had the shotgun through all of them. I feel like my percentile could have been higher, and don't live with that regret. So maximize your time, but not too much. If you're stuck on one item for too long, just move on. It's not worth to lose the time you have for the other questions for just that one question. Make use of your break. When you get that 10-minute break, 15-minute break, drink some water, use the bathroom, stretch if you have to, rearrange yourself, you know, collect yourself together again, and keep going. So yeah, those are all my tips for the NMAT. I hope you guys do really well with yours, and I wish you guys the best of luck. You guys are gonna kill it.
Hi everyone, I'm Angela, and I am blockmates with Isa in UST Pharmacy, and I got 94 in my NMAT exam. So I'm here to share with you some of my personal experience and tips on how to take the exam and how to study. So if you're contemplating whether or not to join a review center or if self-study is enough, I am here to say that yes, it is enough, because I did not join any review center and I just self-studied for like a month before, and I really think that it's okay. All you have to do is like make a calendar, make a timetable, and make sure that you are disciplined enough to follow it. So that's what I did. I had this big calendar and I put there my schedule. So I usually like divide it into morning and afternoon. So for the morning, I study part 1 there, and then for the afternoon, I put part 2. Sometimes we group study, so I put there also like 3 p.m. it's time for group study. I make sure that around 5 or 6 p.m. I'm not studying anymore. Like, I find time to relax and recharge. So I watch movies, sometimes I bake, sometimes I work out. So I think it's really good that you find time to relax, rest your mind and everything, so that the next day you will be able to have enough energy again to study. So since I did not have a lot of review materials with me, I joined this group page in Facebook. Got a lot of reviewers there, like Google Drive links. For me personally, I advise that you answer a lot of mock tests. When you answer the mock test na, I think it's really important that you consider researching all of the choices, that you will be able to familiarize with yourself, and at the same time you will be able to know more about the topic itself. Yung advice ko, practice, practice, practice. One of the things na ginawa ko is that I did not print it, as in sa laptop lang ako sumasagot. Na parang I have this paper, doon ako mag-write ng letters, ng answers ko, and then yung mismong mga images na sa laptop. So in a way, na-practice ako na since online, ready ako na yung mga images na sa laptop lang. So I also have a tip for part 1 verbal. So I made this word bank, wherein, for example, nanonood lang ako ng movies or ng TV shows. Like, pag may hindi ako alam na word, like hindi ako familiar, I put it there sa word bank ko, and then I put the meaning there. And then, grabe, nung sa NMAT talaga, I got shook, like, shook. Anyway, I got shook kasi lumabas like 3 or 5 words, like eksakto sa all the words I've been putting sa word bank ko. So, wow. So, I think it's really helpful, guys. So, I think you should do it also. And of course, group study. Like, it really helped me. May karamay ka studying, and you know, you get to discuss yung mga questions na hindi mo alam. Like, for example, I didn't know the answer there. Some of my friends can explain it to me, or if lahat talaga kami walang idea about it, then we will figure it out together. And also, pray. That's what I did. Like, every night after I study talaga, nagdadasal ako. And in the morning, I also asked for guidance and to help me na sana ma-retain ko lahat ng aaralin ko today. So, everything naman na you do, for example, you studied well and everything, talagang it's all up to Him at the end. So, you guys can do it. If we did it, kaya nyo rin yan. And just self-discipline, study well, and practice, 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 and pray. So, yeah. Thank you and good luck, guys.
The last is to rest, relax, and pray. If I could give one tip to old Isa, my one tip to give to her would be relax. I was just stressing about what to do. So don't follow that. Also rest when you can. It's so important. Sleep, you know, play your games at times if you want to. Take some small breaks. Prayers are so powerful and they're so strong, and I'm so thankful. I really prayed before and after the test and up to this day. So yeah, you can do it. I believe in you. If you really want it, if you really believe that this is what you want, then you can do it. You'll be able to do well in the test. It's okay to not know everything. The reality is you really won't. I don't think there's someone. Just answer the test to the best of your knowledge, leave an intelligent guess, eliminate the choices, and you'll be okay. So if you have any questions or about NMAT or about anything else, you can leave them in the comment section down below, or you can message me on my Facebook or Instagram. Oh gosh, this video is done. Finally. Finally. So I hope you learned something from this video and wish you the best on your NMAT. Bye!